This is Hannibal here with a big daily wrestling news update. It was announced on SmackDown last night that it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul at the upcoming Saudi Arabia pay-per-view. That is probably the best opponent they could get him as far as person that's over in the company right now for that pay-per-view, which by the way, apparently they make about 40 million a pay-per-view for by getting paid by Saudi Arabia for doing shows there. Saudi Arabia is in the process of trying to get either a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. By the way, they want one of the bigger pay-per-views in their country, I guess you could call it. SmackDown is going to stay on Friday nights when it moves to the USA Network later this year. When that happens, once SmackDown gets off Fox and it goes to Netflix and all these companies, it would open up an opportunity of AEW to potentially get TV deals in some of these countries where WWE was once they jump over to Netflix. Whether these TV companies are going to have interest in AEW with their current decline or not, that remains to be seen. Sammy Guevara's suspension related to breaking Jeff Hardy's nose is over. So he's one of the many guys just sitting at home getting paid now, along with Jeff Hardy, who Matt Hardy has confirmed is recovered and could go back to work if they wanted to use him. Apparently, Triple H actually took a shot at Tony Khan at the recent press conference in France, where he basically made a comment after he was asked about Nick Gulak's release, where Triple H basically said, "You can't just keep hiring people and never fire anyone," which is basically what Tony Khan does. They just keep hiring and hiring and hiring, have let go of very, very few people. There's so many people sitting at home getting paid in AEW, and so many people just not being used, which is crazy. Then they've advertised people like Moxley, which by the way, I got confirmation from Jack Kilby, who was at the AEW Toronto show. They even no-showed Moxley in Toronto, so it'll be interesting if he shows up in Vancouver tonight because he is on the poster for Vancouver. Uh, because they advertised him for Ottawa, Quebec City, London, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton, and he didn't show up at any of those. So it'll be very interesting if he shows up in Vancouver tonight. They have over 5,000 tickets sold, which is one of the best pre-sales AEW has had in a long time. Vancouver's hot. But they've been advertising a ton of people that don't end up on the show. You could see Moxley is one of the main people on the poster for Vancouver tonight. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually use him or not. They love to false advertise people in AEW. And apparently they can, well, they're not getting away with it with the decline in crowds and stuff. But Vancouver is an outlier because I believe it's the debut of AEW in Vancouver, and it's a massive city. Dave Batista is going to be in the new movie Jendal, Jim Henson's production. Apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, lady wrestlers from both companies are very happy that Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, is making 4.5 million a year because it's going to bring all the ladies' pay up. Becky Lynch, her pay or her contract is about to expire. She hasn't it hasn't been publicized if she's re-signed with WWE or not, but it's believed she will. But it's nice when you're a woman renegotiating to be able to say, well, Mercedes Monet is making 4.5 million and she's not even making any difference in the ratings. So imagine what Becky Lynch could get going to AEW, who's far more over than Mercedes Monet and is the current WWE Women's Champion. Speaking of Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey recently said that Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley went 20 minutes over their allotted time limit in WrestleMania last year. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. They WWE would severely punish people for going over their time limits by 20 minutes, and Ripley has had nothing but a push since then. And Ronda Rousey claimed that they stole the show on night 1 of WrestleMania last year. I did watch WrestleMania night 1 last year, and it made me not wanna watch WrestleMania night 2. Um, they did have one of the better matches from night 1 last year. I will give them that. In other news, Dana White got a FedEx delivery employee fired. He filmed him throwing packages into the back of the truck, posted it on social media. TMZ picked it up, and the driver was fired. By the way, I did a book entry on my experience wrestling in Texas yesterday, draft book entry, where I talk about how I got this scar, Sabu hard weighing me in both the front and the back of the head, which is what all the blood is from on the front and back of this mask. But I suggest people check it out. Part 22, Texas wrestling. Hope everyone enjoys the Vancouver AEW Dynamite, and I hope John Moxley actually shows up. Why it pisses me off, for one thing, they're paying him anyways, yet they're not using him despite advertising him, and he's making shows in like Japan and CMLL, but AEW is like they don't care. They'd rather him make appearances that he's advertised for other companies and no show their own. And I'm not saying he's no showing. Tony Khan might just be advertising him and not getting him tickets, and not booking him because he doesn't give a fuck what he advertises or not, which is going to hurt them in the long run. It's one of the things that killed WCW's business, false advertising people for events, and then like putting them on the posters and stuff, and then having them not show up. It's one of the shittiest things you can do as a wrestling promoter. So I don't. I think that makes Tony Khan not the nicest guy because he's been doing this over and over and over again, and more people should call him out for it, in my opinion.